Hello, welcome to the Inside the Birds NFL Week 10 preview. I'm Geoff Mosher, and if you are an Eagles fan, it's another fun weekend for you. As last weekend the Eagles were bye, and you got to watch NFL action and not have to worry about sweating it out with an Eagles game. And then this weekend, you get to again enjoy action around the NFL as the Eagles will not play until Monday night. So if you're an Eagles fan, it's sort of like a double bonus. You get to watch more football, and then you get to watch your own team on Monday night in a big game for both teams, the Eagles and Packers. And we've obviously have that covered on the Inside the Birds pregame show. Myself, Adam Kaplan, Greg Cosell broke it all down. Very interesting game. The injury situation for the Packers losing Tucker Kraft is going to play a big part of that. And obviously with the Eagles and, Cam Jurgens' situation, not great as well. So both teams have some things to overcome and both have a lot on the line. Two good teams. Should be a very good Monday night game. If you are an Eagles fan or if you are an NFL fan who watched the Thursday night game with the Broncos and the Raiders, I'm sorry. You probably could have spent that time weaving a basket, filing taxes early. I don't know, something that would have been more productive than that game, which was a terrible game. The Broncos won, and amazingly, they are 8-2. And it seems like the more they compile wins, the less impressed I become with who they are and their chances of being the best team in the AFC. I know that sounds ridiculous, but they really, really struggle to move the ball and to score points against a Raiders team that is not very good, does not have a very good defense, has not been very competitive all year. They're 2-7. Yes, they lost to the Jaguars by 1 the week before. I don't think the Jaguars are very good, but they lost to the Chiefs 31-0 going into the bye. Their only win since week 1, is the Titans, and they only beat the Titans 20-10. So they gave up 40 points to the Colts. They gave up 41 to the Commanders. This is not a great Raiders defense. It's not one of those teams that if it was just offensively they were a little better, then they would be a really good team. So I don't know what's going on with the Broncos offensively. It seems like Bo Nix is having trouble getting the ball down the field. I don't think they have overall enough playmakers when all is said and done. Courtland Sutton's a great wide receiver. They have a good offensive line, but their running game has been fine, but they really don't have anything at the tight end position, at the Z spot, at the Y spot. Nothing other than Courtland Sutton that I think really threatens an opponent. And I just don't think Nix himself has, in year 2, taken a huge leap from year 1. He's basically, to me, the same kind of guy. He might make a couple of better throws here and there. And again, I'm not trying to take credit away from the Broncos. I know it was an AFC West game, and those are always going to be a little bit tighter and different, but they have won 8 in a row. But you look at some of their offensive performances, 10-7 Raiders, 18-15 against the Texans the week before. Texans have a good defense. I get it. 13 points against the Jets across the pond in a 13-11 win. They did beat the Eagles. They only scored 21 in that. 20-12 in the season opener against the Titans. They're just they're an ordinary offense. I don't think that they threaten defenses really well. And we'll really find out more about the Broncos as they, have to play the Kansas City Chiefs in their next game. So they'll get a little bit of a mini bye. So that'll be week 11 next week. They'll face the Chiefs. Then they have they'll have to score points to keep up with the Chiefs or continue to play amazing defense and hold the Chiefs to somewhere in that 21-24 range. And then, over the latter part of their schedule, they have the Packers. They've got the Chiefs again. They have the Chargers to end the year with. So they're going to finish fine. They got games left against the Commanders, another one against the Raiders, another against the Jaguars. So they'll be fine. They're going to win at least 12 or 13 games. But when you look at their viability as a real threat to whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Ravens, who are probably going to be back, and probably going to win the AFC Central, whether it's the Patriots who can score points. I just don't know that the Broncos can rely week after week after week on their defense just shutting down the opponent. It's a great defense, but at some point the offense has to take a step up. So that was the Thursday night game, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I'm just not sure Chip Kelly is an NFL coach. I mean, I think his offenses, they struggled after the first year with the Eagles, despite all the changes that he made, despite getting quote unquote his guy with Sam Bradford and his guy with DeMarco Murray. Then they struggled in San Francisco. He didn't have a great team, but it struggled. And now he's back. And look, the Raiders don't have a great set of offensive weaponry, but Geno Smith, before he came to the Raiders, was a pretty good quarterback in Seattle. Ashton Genty is a top 5 pick who ripped up college apart. Brock Bowers had an amazing rookie year. Their O-line, I know it got beat up and they lost their center. They haven't had Colton Miller, the left tackle. I know their O-line isn't great. And obviously they traded away their receiver at the trade deadline to the Jags. And that takes somebody away, but they shouldn't be this bad offensively. And I think that Chip Kelly's fingerprints are all over that. Jacoby Myers is who I was thinking of that they traded away. They just haven't been a good offense. And in Chip Kelly's NFL career now with the Eagles, with the Niners, and now as offensive coordinator of the Raiders, the common bond is his offenses don't seem to adjust. They don't capitalize. They don't maximize any mismatches. And I'm just not sure he's an NFL coach. As for the rest of the week, there's bye weeks, of course, for the Bengals, much needed, the Dallas Cowboys, Tennessee Titans, the Chiefs. The Cowboys really need a bye. I mean, obviously, it's a terrible tragedy there for Dallas, losing Marshawn Nealon to an apparent suicide. You just feel for his girlfriend, Catalina, was her name in the reports, the family, the team itself, anybody in Marshawn's inner circle. Just a terribly tragic situation that I don't know that I can expand or offer any wisdom or insight that's anything better than you all have already heard or know. I just think that there's a helpless feeling for people in general who don't know when somebody needs help. There could be somebody struggling with mental illness that I know right now, and it may not be obvious. It may not be apparent. And I have no idea if it was or not from Marshawn Nealon. He had scored a touchdown the week before, his first career touchdown off of a block. He fell on it. Every picture that you see, which is the most misleading thing that we have, is pictures. That's why Instagram can be toxic. It can make you think that everybody's life is great, or any other social media platform, and then make you feel worse about your own life. I mean, social media is just terrible and toxic for that reason. But that's a helpless feeling for someone who might want to be a mental health advocate or help out or just be extremely sensitive to the issue. But you're constantly told, and it's a great thing to be told, to check in on your friends, check in on your loved ones, ask someone if they're not doing well, ask if they're okay. But the signs aren't always there. And sometimes you just don't know when or who to ask or why. And that's the difficult and the helpless feeling that I know I feel when I think about people in my life, people I come across who could be struggling and I might not know. It's hard to just go up to every single person every single day of the week. Hey, you doing all right? You feel okay? You good? Or even if someone looks down, sometimes people look down, they're just having a bad moment and they don't want to be pestered by, hey, are you okay? You all right? Can I help you? Sometimes you're just having a bad day and you don't want somebody in your face. So it's just a helpless feeling. I would just recommend that everybody check out Andrew DeCecco's interview on the Inside the Birds platform with former Eagles first round pick Marcus Smith, who has become a mental health advocate, who has struggled with mental health at times. He did in his career. He's very open about it. We've had him on Radio Row at the Super Bowl talking about it. He did try at one point in his life to commit suicide when he was with the Seahawks and things weren't working out. He obviously had a difficult career living up to being a first round pick. And anyway, Andrew caught up with him this week and for his Daily DeCecco, and did a really nice interview with Marcus Smith. And Marcus had some really, really good stuff to say, and also talk about his foundation, Circle of M, that is devoted to more awareness and advocacy for mental health. So please check that out on the platform. It's an important show, and it's an important topic that we've talked about more as a society as it intersects with sports. It used to be kind of not something you would talk about, but now it's okay, which is good. Lane Johnson, and of course, has talked about it, and it was really the right guard for the Eagles, Brandon Brooks, who was the first. He encountered some real issues with mental health while he was an Eagle, and talked about it and talked about the difficulties, and coming out for him about it really helped him through it. And he wanted to make awareness a better thing in sports, and he did. And so was Lane Johnson, and that's been good. So I definitely would encourage you to check out the interview that Andrew DeCecco did with Marcus Smith, and of course to keep, Marshawn Nealon's family in your thoughts, his loved ones in your thoughts, because it really is a tragedy, and it's tough to think about. It definitely was a tough week for NFL fans and people who cover the sport, who get to know these athletes on a little bit of a different level. All right, let's take a look at the games in the NFL this week, and it's got some pretty good. I thought the last few weeks we've gotten some matchups, but we're starting to get to some pretty good ones. Now, of course, the NFL is overseas again, so you can wake up early and watch your early morning game between the Falcons and the Colts in Germany. And boy, has that game become interesting, as the Colts have become a very, very interesting team. They are coming off a loss to the Steelers. It was just their second loss of the year, and they've kind of established themselves as a juggernaut. And then they make a big trade. Now, I already went through this on Philly Voice. I wrote winners and losers of the trade deadline. I talked about this with Kaplan throughout the week. My stance is that I think the 2 first-round picks for a cornerback, when you are a team that has had quarterback instability for as long as you've had, is dangerous and risky. I get why the Colts did it. I do think Sauce Gardner, despite some regression a little bit, probably in a better environment, will play really well for the Colts, and they really needed a corner. But, I mean, they basically married themselves to Daniel Jones, not just for this year, but going forward, because not having first-round picks in each of the next 2 years is a dangerous proposition unless you are an elite team. And the Colts think they are, and think that they've got their quarterback wrapped up. And so we will see. You do have to give Shane Steichen a whole lot of credit. He's done a tremendous job. He showed in a very unpopular move that it really was about Anthony Richardson not being able to execute the offense. Daniel Jones is, and ever since he's been executing it, the whole offense and the whole team has functioned at an entirely new level. Now, think about this. The Colts, it's easy to look at the Colts, and I said this last week. I said, we will know if the Colts are really for real over the second half. We'll start to see, because eventually when you win all these games in a row, the spotlight shines on you. Teams come hunting for you. You become the hunted, not the hunter. And then there's some regression that is naturally expected, especially when you win a lot of games in a row. So I said, we'll see if Indianapolis can handle being that team. They were on a 4-game win streak. Their only loss of the year had been to the Rams, and that was a tough game, close game as well. We'll see how they handle that. And obviously they lose in Pittsburgh. But I will say this about their loss. They turned the ball over 6 times. 6 times they turned the ball over. They lost 27-20. All right. Most teams turn the ball over 6 times, right? There was 3 interceptions by Andrew Jones, and obviously 3 fumbles. Wow. 2 fumbles by Jones, and then 1 by Josh Allen. So Daniel Jones himself had 5 turnovers. Okay. When you turn the ball over 6 times in a game, you usually get your rear end kicked in. All right. You are usually done. And yes, they were down by 17 points in the fourth quarter until a Downs touchdown made it by 10. And then they got a field goal to cut it to 3. So I'm not trying to act like the Colts weren't handled a little bit here, but for this to be even that close of a game, on 6 turnovers says a lot about the Colts and that this was probably fluky for them to lose this game. And B, kind of says a lot about the Steelers, don't you think? I mean, you force 6 turnovers and you only score 27 points. You only win by a touchdown. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, 203 yards and a touchdown. They really didn't have a running game. Jaylen Warren averaged 1.9 yards per carry. This has been the Steelers all year long. They're streaky. They're unpredictable. They don't run the ball very well. They've got nothing from that rookie third-round pick, Caleb Johnson. Other than DK Metcalf, who only had 2 catches, they don't have too many threats as weapons, but these are the Steelers. And even their defense hasn't been as great. Indianapolis still had 368 total yards despite turning the ball over 6 times. The Steelers only had 225 yards in that game. So that is about as fluky of a game as you're ever going to see. So I won't knock the Colts too much for losing it. And I didn't drop them from number 1 in my power rankings. You knew they were going to lose a game. And they're playing a Falcons team this week. And they're I want to say at home. They're the home team, but they're in Germany. But the Falcons are not very good. The Falcons are actually probably the most disappointing team in the NFL. He kind of thought, I know that that Penix has been hurt. They've had to go with Cousins for a game. And, they just lost to the Patriots. And Penix did come back, and he did throw 3 touchdowns. That was a closer game for them. They lost 24-23 to a red-hot Patriots team that I believe has won 7 in a row. But they're just disappointing. You look at them at 3-5, and they're just not – they're not getting enough contributions from their defense in the pass rush. They're getting more out of Bijan Robinson as a pass catcher than a running back. Drake London catches all their passes and nobody else, whether it's Mooney or Pitts or anybody else, steps up. It's just been a bad job by the coaching staff, bad job by the team. Maybe they can start to get things together here. If they can beat the Colts and take advantage of the Colts losing last week, then maybe I'll start to view them differently. But man, ever since they beat the Bills by 10, right? Ever since they beat the Bills by 10, they've been nothing but a disappointment. And I would not expect them to be able to win this game as well. And of course, the Colts are 6.5-point favorites. Move on to the Giants. The Giants are all banged up. They are 4.5-point dogs in Chicago to the Bears. The Giants have injuries on the offensive line. They got injuries to Paulson Adebo, their corner, their kicker. He's always hurt. They got injuries on the D-line. So it's not looking great for them. They need a spark. Obviously, since losing Scadaboo, it's been a disaster for them. 3 straight losses. They're going to play a Bears team now that, rebounded, that just had an unbelievable offensive effort like everybody does against the Bengals. Even though the Bears had some injuries, they were able to unlock some guys. Colson Loveland, their first-round pick tight end, had 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. How about their running game? The Bears have the best and most explosive run game in the NFL. Go figure that. Kyle Monangai, rookie from Rutgers. All right. I think he was either a day 3, like late day 3, or maybe a rookie free agent. 26 carries for 176 yards. Average 6.8 yards per carry. Now, I get it. It's against the Bengals. I'm not making a huge deal of it, but what I am telling you is consistently this year, the Bears have run the ball very well. And the Giants are not very good at run defense. So until that changes, I would expect the Bears to be able to work their run game. I don't think they're going to score 47 points, but I would expect them to be able to work that run game. I think DeAndre Swift will be back, but wouldn't surprise me if this became a 50-50 backfield now, committee sort of between DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, who was impressive in training camp. I mean, there was word that he was going to see a lot more carries coming out of camp. DeAndre Swift got off to a really good start. Swift has almost 500 yards. So he's doing great. He's on pace for 1,000 yards, and Monangai looks like he can play too. So I would expect a whole heavy dose of Monangai and Swift against that Giants defense.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter makes sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorcars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you know you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. Bills at Dolphins, interesting week. It's been for the Dolphins as they, are basically committed to their head coach. They did not trade Jalen Waddle. They did trade Jalen Phillips, obviously, to the Eagles. They had that tough loss. Well, not tough loss. I mean, they got destroyed by the Baltimore Ravens at home. I think that was either the Sunday or the Monday night game. And it was not even competitive. And everybody thought that McDaniel would get fired. And instead they fired the GM. They trade Jalen Phillips. And away they go. It looks like, I get the decision. I think that their issue, the Dolphins, is much more of a roster issue. Their offensive line is terrible. Okay. If you watch the Miami Dolphins, what they try to do is they try to come out with a lot of tight ends, fullback. That's what the Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan offenses do. He runs that kind of an offense. That's where he's from. And they put a lot of tight ends and fullbacks on the field. They're trying to get teams to respond in base defense and, put 6 men at the line of scrimmage, which is what teams typically do when an offense does that. But nobody has respect for Miami's running game and offensive line and overall offense. So they don't. They play nickel anyway. And it doesn't help with Mike McDaniel, who wants to create mismatches. He wants you to have your base defense out. He wants to get your nickel off the field. He wants to be able to match up his running back, his tight end, his slot guy on your linebacker instead of your nickel. And nobody plays base defense against him. So it's been really tough for him to run his offense. And of course, Tua has not played well, and he didn't play well in that game. And I still wonder if there's a quarterback switch coming. Is it going to be Quinn Ewers? Is it going to be someone else? Who knows? But the Miami Dolphins right now are just not a competitive team. They have a lot of work to do. And unfortunately for them, they have the Bills on deck. And the Bills are coming off 2 very impressive wins. They came out of the bye had lost 2 straight games going in. They come out against the Panthers, boom, 40-9. Come out against the Chiefs, right, at home, and they beat the Chiefs 28-21. Their defense has been playing well. You got to give them their defense a lot of credit. Offensively, they do a lot of innovative things. They use an enormous tight end who can catch the ball a little bit, Hawes, and they put him on the field, and they run out of that package. They pass out of that package. It makes them very difficult to defend. They are a very balanced or spread around offense. So kind of like the Broncos, I do wonder deep into the playoffs if the Bills really have enough. I thought that, and I didn't write this in my winners and losers story. I didn't make them a loser, but I kind of thought both the Chiefs and the Bills should have helped themselves. I thought the Chiefs should have made a call or an attempt, and maybe they did, but done something to get a running back with Isaiah Pacheco hurt and still leaning on the age-old Kareem Hunt. Call up for Tony Pollard of the Titans. Call for Ramondre. Well, the Patriots aren't going to trade Ramondre, but call somebody who's not. Call the Dolphins. They have a couple of running backs. I just thought that there was call the Browns. See if they'll trade Jerome Ford. There had to be somebody that was willing to give up a better running back to the Chiefs for them to really help out. I really thought Travis Etienne would have been perfect, and I thought that the Jags should have been sellers, but they've convinced themselves at 5-3 they're buyers. We'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, the Bills, they spread it around, but they're really sort of Dalton Kincaid centric, and then everybody else gets like 3, 4, or 5 passes. I just don't know if that's going to be enough. Josh Allen's been great. as he usually is, and their offense functions just fine. They balance the run, the pass very well. I just wonder if this team, which is trying to get over the hump, trying to win a Super Bowl, trying to finally beat Kansas City, and may have some new faces in the mix here with the Colts, right? I just wonder if they've got enough offensively when it comes down to a divisional round, a conference championship, to really be able to light up the scoreboard if they need to, because they always seem to have injuries on defense. In fact, I think they've got a few with Epinesa and Shaq Thompson in this game, which shouldn't matter much. 8.5-point favorites against the Dolphins, and I think that's generous. Another 1:00 game is the Ravens at the Vikings. Boy, this game is really interesting. I mean, the Ravens, they look like they're back. They got Lamar back. You know, they had already beat the Bears the week before. Then they just stomped on the Dolphins. Now they got a chance to get to 4-5 if they can go on the road and beat the Vikings. And pretty much everybody's healthy for the Ravens with Lamar back. In fact, I saw a report on Wednesday, I think, that the Ravens had no injuries to report. That's an amazing turnaround for a team that lost 4 straight games and 5 out of the first 6 because they couldn't keep anybody healthy. So they did make the trade for Draymond Jones. He will help them in the pass rush. He's a good pass rusher, not a great one, but a good one who should fit in to what they do well. Their defense has played better. They've only allowed 22 points in their last 2 games, but now they play a Vikings team that is not yet ready to throw in the towel. All right. They look like they were after they lost to the Eagles and then lost to the Chargers back to back, but they come back. JJ McCarthy gets in there, and it's not like McCarthy lit it up, but they completely foiled the Lions offense in Detroit. You got to give Brian Flores a lot of credit. I mean, he sent so many blitzes. I saw somewhere where Jahmyr Gibbs had to be kept in a lot because of how often, he had to be kept in for protection. And when you can keep Jahmyr Gibbs, a weapon like that, in to protect and not run as many routes, and you can hold down that running game, you have a chance. Everybody talks about Jared Goff in their pass game, but their run game is what sets up everything. It has ever since Ben Johnson was their offensive coordinator. But the Vikings, you got to give them credit. They did an excellent job. They won the game 27-24. And look, can they beat the Ravens? It'll be a great game. It'll be a great test. If they do, they'll be 5-4. And all of a sudden, that NFC North with the Bears, with the Vikings, the Lions, with the Packers looks really super competitive. So great job by Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. The Vikings are not out of it. I don't know if they'll beat the Ravens. The Ravens are 4.5-point favorites in Minnesota, but it would be sure exciting if they won that game. And then as for the Ravens, to get to 4-5, I mean, you'll feel great. If you're a Raven fan or if you follow the Ravens, you're part of the Ravens, you'll feel great about their opportunity to still win the AFC North at 4-5, because the only team that you're really worried about is the Steelers. You still got to play them twice. The Bengals are falling all over themselves. The Browns aren't good. So the Ravens, this is where they start their ascent. All right. I mentioned the Browns. They are playing the Jets in a who cares game. I mean, now I feel bad for people who live in the Northeast like myself, and because I assume, I haven't checked, but with the Eagles playing Monday night, I assume one of the 1:00 games that people who live like in New Jersey, like South Jersey, like me, you're going to have to be subjected to this Browns-Jets game, I fear. And man, I love watching any football, but you're asking to watch a Jets team that just won its first game. I mean, congratulations. Good job, Aaron Glenn. People thought you were going to go and lose for the rest of the year. You beat the Bengals 39-38 because everybody right now is scoring 39 to 45 points on the Bengals. But good job. All right. Good job. You won the game. And that's that's your feather in the cap, so to speak. And now you've got to play the Browns. And by the way, that game was 2 weeks ago against the Bengals. They were coming out of the bye. And now, so they get their gift against the Browns. But since then, they've traded away Quinnen Williams, traded away Sauce Gardner, and they are obviously in a complete total teardown. Well, not total teardown. They didn't trade Breece Hall away. They didn't trade Garrett Wilson. I don't know if anybody else was attractive, but This is interesting because both teams are coming off the bye. So we'll see. I mean, the Browns, I know Kevin Stefanski has given up play calling. They have outside of Quinshon Judkins, they don't have much offensively. The Browns are actually 2.5-point favorites. I don't know who to tell you that is going to win this game. I kind of think the Jets have more playmakers between Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. You know, one thing that's interesting about Justin Fields is he's having a terrible year, but he's not thrown an interception all year long. I know they don't throw the ball a whole lot, but he hasn't thrown one interception all year long. So for the Browns to be 2.5-point favorites, a little suspect to me, but obviously their defense is great, and it would not surprise me if this was like a 6-2 type of game. 1 o'clock, we got the Patriots, the white, hot, scorching New England Patriots at the Buccaneers. Now, this is one of those games that I was talking about where, all right, that's a good game. I mean, we got Ravens, Vikings, we got Patriots, Buccaneers. That's a good game. So if you're hoping to get those, a chance to watch those games if you can, if you got the NFL ticket, the Patriots are 7-2. Now, the interesting thing about the Patriots, all right, Drake May takes a ton of hits. He gets hit a lot, but he can really rip it. And they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games. All right, just behind only the Denver Broncos for the longest win streak in the league. They are 7-2. They tend to play some close games, 25-19 over the Saints, 24-23 over the Falcons. Still don't know how they lost to the Raiders in week 1, but as I always say, week 1's a con job. But you got to really like the development of Drake May. Now, I think they're down a wide receiver in this game. It might be Keyshawn Boutte. So that's a little bit tough for May. There's also going to be down Ramondre Stevenson. So it'll be more Travion Henderson, who's started to look better. That is the big takeaway from the Patriots, that Travion Henderson, he had 55 rushes on 14 carries against the Falcons. He caught a couple of about 32 more yards. So he almost gave you about 90 yards of offense in that game. We'll see if Kyle Williams, who's their rookie third-round pick, starts to play a bigger role for them with Boutte out. But this will be a really fascinating game. They're playing a Tampa Bay Bucs team that is not only 6-2 and very good, and I believe they are the favorites. They are probably 2.5-point favorites. But the problem with them, and I could have sworn coming out of the bye week, they were going to be healthier, but they really aren't. Sounds like they're still going to be without Chris Godwin with the fibula, still going to be without Bucky Irving with, I think he's got a foot or an ankle issue. And they've been out without those guys for a while. And of course, they don't have Evans. Now, I'm expecting that their rookie, Emeka Egbuka, who's been fantastic all year long, will be better from the hamstring injury. I mean, he hasn't missed any time, but you know that when you're dealing with a hamstring, it doesn't make you who you are. But kid's got 562 yards and 5 touchdowns on 34 catches. He's been great, and they are going to need absolutely all of him and Cade Otton and Rachaad White, who is not a great running back, but he can catch the ball. And this is a real challenge for the Buccaneers. I think the Patriots are really advanced and much better than they are last year. I don't know. I know they beat the Bills earlier in this year, but they're still a little bit of an up and down team. And I always say the more games you win in a row in the NFL, the closer you are to your first loss. So I wouldn't be surprised if you put a gun to my head, even with their injuries. I think the Buccaneers are probably going to win this one. We'll see. They played really well, even with all the injuries that they've had all year. You got to give them credit. The Buccaneers may be a top 3 team in the NFC. That's how well they've played this year. So it's a great game. Should be fun. I like the Buccaneers. All right, Saints at Panthers. Tyler Shuck made his debut last week. He was their second-round pick. Obviously, it didn't go great, as you would expect. A quarterback making his debut. They played the Rams, and the Rams just completely dominated that game. Matthew Stafford's on some kind of heater, by the way. I mean, they weren't going to win that game. And now they have another road game, the Saints, against the Panthers team that you have to, again, you've got to give this coaching staff credit, just like the Vikings, right? The Panthers looked like they were one of the worst teams in football, after the first few weeks. I mean, they couldn't throw a forward pass. That's how bad Bryce Young was for the first 4 weeks. They were 1-3, and then they beat the Dolphins, and then they beat the Cowboys. That was the big one where Rico Dowdle just went, insane. Beat the Jets. All right. No, you don't get too much credit for beating the Jets, but when you're the Panthers and you're just trying to scratch and claw your way back, and you win a game like that to get over 500, then you go lose to the Bills, which everybody says, all right, you're the Panthers again because you get crushed 40-19. How about the resolve to go into Green Bay last week and win 16-13? Now, Dave Canales, their coach, they learned a lesson. The lesson was, even with Chuba Hubbard back, this is now the Rico Dowdle show. And I heard him say during the week that they basically have to confront the fact that even though they gave Chuba Hubbard, who's a good running back for them, has been fine. For what I know, he's a good guy, good, well liked. They gave him that contract extension, but Rico Dowdle, 25 carries for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.2 a carry, 2 more catches. Catching the ball isn't his thing. He's had some big catches this year. It's not his thing, but he and the Panthers running game is rock solid right now. It's one of the best in the league. They can run the rock, and they're going to go into New Orleans, which sometimes can be a tough place to play because of the crowd, but the Saints are no good. The crowd will be out of it, and because it's a nice indoor fast track, that I would expect them to run all over the Saints and look for Rico Dowdle to continue. He was a little banged up, missed some practice this week, but he's been one of those kind of fun storylines for the NFL season so far, and I would expect him to go right into New Orleans and keep that streak going of just piling up the rushing yards. And look, the Panthers, it's a chance for them to get to 6-4. If they don't get to 6-4 and they don't win this game, they are the same old Panthers. Because if there's going to be a team that's going to threaten the Bucs here in the NFC South, it hasn't been the Falcons. Thought it'd be them. Certainly not going to be the Saints. This is the Panthers' opportunity. We'll see if they seize it. 5.5-point favorites in New Orleans. All right, a lot of road favorites, by the way, so far in this week. Jaguars at Texans. So I said this before. I don't like this Jaguars team, not one bit. I don't know if people realize this, but Trevor Lawrence has the worst passer rating among all starting quarterbacks, and including some backup quarterbacks who've been forced into action this year. It's around like 74.1, I think it was. They're 5-3, but man, they're lousy. Honestly, they're not fun to watch. They have no cohesion on offense. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be out of this game. So they're already down. They're down another receiver. They've already been banged up at receiver. It seems like every year the Jaguars have new receivers and none of them are good or work out. They needed Parker Washington. By the way, I'm a Parker Washington fan because he went to Penn State where I went. I know Parker Washington's a good, reliable, dependable receiver, but even they didn't get sort of suckered into thinking that he's a savior. They went out and traded for Jacoby Myers. I know they have a ton of draft picks. Jaguars have a ton of draft picks. They have a very young GM. So he wants to, in his first year, and Liam Cohen, the head coach in their first year, they want to show you that they got something to believe in. All right. So they go and trade draft picks for a slot receiver in Myers, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. That makes no sense to me. I know Travis Hunter is hurt. That was part of the being banged up that I talked about. So they need a guy for the slot, and they don't want to rely just on Parker Washington. Brenton Strange has been hurt. They beat the Raiders last week 30-29 to go from 4-3 to 5-3, and now they're acting like they're a team to be reckoned with. So they go out and trade for a slot receiver. I honestly think that it would have been better for them in the long haul to be sellers than buyers, or to just hold on to their draft picks. And, if they had a chance to move ETN for something, then maybe they should have thought about it, but they didn't. And now they're going to go and play a Texans team that is going to be on Davis Mills. And look, the Jags could win this game and get to 6-3. And again, it's going to look like they're going somewhere and they're a force. They won't be. This Texans team isn't good. They come off an 18-15 loss to the Broncos. Stroud got hurt. Mills will be the quarterback. I don't think that actually matters that much. And I'm not trying to say that Mills is as good as CJ Stroud, but he is an experienced backup. Stroud's good, but this offense just doesn't have anything right now to be excited about. The offensive line's still a mess. Nico Collins is okay, but the two rookies that they drafted have not played very well. This is another classic 17-13 type of game. And by the way, either team could win it. And by the way, again, Jaguars 1.5-point favorites in in Houston. By the way, the Texans were like home favorites against the Broncos last week. That's what's weird. The Texans were favored to beat the Broncos at home. So maybe you figured, hey, they were at home. They're getting the benefit of the doubt. Well, they're home again, and they're playing the Jaguars, who have a worse record than the Broncos, and yet they are underdogs. So I don't get it. I don't know how that's working. Someone smarter than me has to be able to explain that. But that is the deal. And I expect this to be a very low-scoring game. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans won in a really ugly game and the Jaguars' true colors were revealed. By the way, I talked about Lawrence, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions this year. Just a bad offensive team going up against a very good defensive team, but that is also a bad offensive team. Might be another 7-3 game. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher, and if you have a family and kids at home like me, you always want them to be fully protected. That's why I'm thrilled to be a Simply Safe customer, and our house is equipped with the most technologically advanced alarm system you can get. If you could actually stop someone from breaking into your home before they got inside, why wouldn't you? Traditional security systems only react after a break-in, but Simply Safe is different because it stops crimes before they happen with Active Guard outdoor protection. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're still outside your home, and they alert real security agents. These agents take action while the intruder is still outside and confront the intruder to let them know they're being watched on camera and police is on the way. And that's how you stop a crime before it's committed. There's no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel anytime, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. Do not miss out on Simply Safe's biggest sale of the year, 60% off. Our listeners get 60% off a Simply Safe home security system at simplysafe.com/bird. That's simplysafe.com/bird. Hey, I still like a good night out, but I'm not always in the mood to drink, and that's why I looked for a great alternative, and I found one. It's called Soul's Out of Office Gummies. You get the same light, happy buzz, but you don't have the hangover. There's no sugar, and you don't get that awkward feeling the next morning. They help me unwind and ease into my evening without the alcohol or the next day fog. Soul is a wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products designed to boost your mood and help you unwind. Their best-selling out-of-office gummies were designed to provide a mild, relaxing buzz, boost your mood, and enhance your creativity and relaxation. With 5 different strengths, you can tailor the dose to fit your vibe. From a gentle 1.5 milligram microdose to their newest 15 milligram gummy for a more elevated experience. They've also got a variety of products specifically designed to help you get a better night's rest, including Soul's top selling sleep gummy, a fan favorite for deep restorative sleep. So bring on the good vibes and treat yourself to Soul today. Right now, Soul is offering our audience 30% off your entire order. So go to getsoul.com and use the code BIRDS, BIRDS. That's getsoul.com, promo code BIRDS for 30% off. All right, let's get to the 4:00 games. Cardinals at Seahawks. Now, this game's a little interesting, right? So Jonathan Gannon comes out and says Kyler Murray's still not ready. He still has got to get healthy. Jacoby Brissett is going to continue to be the starter. Brissett gets the Cardinals a win against the Cowboys. Pretty convincing one, too. 27-17. Stops their 5-game losing streak and gets them to 3-5. And it seemed like the Cardinals were just this terrible team because they were, at one point 2-5. But as I've been saying, week after week after week, every single one of those losses was by 5 or fewer points. All right, this is the most on the precipice team there is in the NFL, and they just needed a little bit more functionality on offense. And hey, look at what Brissett has done. They scored 27 against the Cowboys, who have a bad defense, fine, but they did score 23 against the Packers, 27 against the Colts. They lost those games, but they were starting to score points. Now, the unfortunate thing for the Cardinals is they are down 2 cornerbacks, and they're about to play a Seahawks team that I thought had an amazing trade deadline, adding Rashid Shaheed to an offense that is already maybe I'm sure analytically it is. If you look at their EPA and things like that, EPA per drop back, pass, what Sam Darnold is doing on play action, his yards per attempt, they're all this is analytically the best pass offense in the National Football League. Darnold, 16 touchdowns, 2,000 yards already. Jackson Smith and Jigba has 948 receiving yards already. And the one thing I had said about the Seahawks was they're almost a little bit too reliant on Smith and Jigba. It's been working, but if you want to be a better team in the playoffs, you kind of need more. Like I said about the Broncos, you need more, and bam, they go get Rashid Shaheed, who is not only one of the league's best deep threats, but he played for the Seahawks offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who was the Saints offensive coordinator last year. So he should know the offense, should fit in well. Now he doesn't get the benefit of playing in a dome, track speed, all that stuff. We'll see. I haven't looked at the splits to see what kind of receiver Shaheed has been outside. But the bottom line is he's just better than what they were throwing out there. I mean, Cooper Kupp's been not the same guy and been dealing with injuries. They have a nice rookie in Torrey Horton, who's probably going to also see some more time. But I thought that was a great move for the Seahawks, and the Cardinals are going in there. Seahawks are 6.5 point favorites. I think it'll be pretty close because the Cardinals play good football, but being down 2 cornerbacks against this prolific pass offense to me is going to make the difference. And I think this will be close, but I could see Seattle pulling away a little bit in the fourth quarter. Just a couple of back-breaking plays through the air because Sam Darnold is on some heater right now. And speaking of, we get to the Rams at the 49ers, another really exciting game, and yet again, another road favorite, another home underdog. The 49ers are 4.5 point dogs at home. Sounds like Purdy is getting better, but it's still going to be the Mac Jones show. I don't know if they're going to have Pearsall back. Listen, they've been getting by the last few weeks, finally, with McCaffrey, who has been unbelievable. What a bounce back season for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, when he's healthy, he's great. That's just the reality of it. He just struggles with health. But obviously, they beat the Giants last week, 34-24, and they had a big game out of McCaffrey, as a lot of teams do against the Giants. And, even Brian Robinson got in on there. Mac Jones, give him a lot of credit. It is amazing to me. I think I said this either last show or the show before. These guys who were drafted by bad offensive teams or bad offensive coaches, put in bad environments. Do you all remember the game that Mac Jones played in New England as a rookie where it was so gusty that Bill Belichick only let him throw the ball, I think, 2 times the entire game? I mean, you could say, hey, it was great strategy. He wasn't ready. But, I mean, I don't know what kind of message that sends to a young quarterback when you're only allowed to throw the ball 2 times. Why even start him if you're only going to allow him to throw the ball that many times? But, again, just like Baker Mayfield, just like Sam Darnold, just like other guys who have come through the McVay, the Kevin O'Connell, the Shanahan tree here, you are seeing what happens with Mac Jones. He has been a good, functional quarterback for them, makes the throws that they need to make, and they have far exceeded everybody's expectations at 6-3. Think about their injuries. They lost Bosa. They lost Fred Warner. They lost, even last week, I think they lost another guy, Michael Williams. They had Bryce Huff out for a while. Michael Williams, their impressive rookie from Georgia. They are just completely decimated on defense, but they are 6-3, playing well. But I think their luck runs out on Sunday because they're playing against a Rams team right now that is just absolutely on fire. Stafford has been playing lights out. And granted, they just beat the Saints, but he had 4 touchdowns in that game. The week before, he had 5. So I think he leads the NFL in touchdown passes. They run the ball well with Kyron Williams, and Blake Corrin is now added to the mix. Puka Nacua is healthy. Nacua and Adams give them all the receiving they need. Plus Higbee, the tight end, he's a good player. He gets in there, does some things. I mean, their defense. And by the way, I think the Rams I put them in my winners at the trade deadline category. A lot of people forgot They traded for Roger McCreary, a very good nickel corner. And what that's going to allow them to do is take Quentin Lake, who you might remember when he played against the Eagles earlier. He plays everywhere. He is like a chess piece in the back end. He will now be moving all around and finding the matchup that works best for Chris Shula, who's done an excellent job with this defense. And it just make their defensive back end, which is shaky at the outside corner, but they compensate because they have a great front four rush. They have really do a lot of stuff on the back end to confuse quarterbacks. Defense has been very solid. They've allowed, in their last 3 games, they've allowed 20 points. All right. They've only allowed more than 25 points twice this year. Okay. So that just shows you how good that they've been. They're going to beat the 49ers this week. I like that what the Niners have been able to do, but the Rams are on a heck of a run right now. They might be the best team in the NFC. They might. If they win, they'll be 7-2, and they'll have every right to say that they are. Lions, Commanders. Yes, again, we have home underdog, and for obvious reasons, the Commanders, they got good news in that Jaden Daniels is not going to go on IR, but they're just full of injuries. They don't have enough. Now, the one thing I'll say is that the Lions clearly, they had some offensive line injuries, and they haven't played to their fullest all year long. They've played good in spurts. For them to go and lose that game against Minnesota was sort of surprising. I know they had some offensive line injuries, and I talked about Gibbs. I mean, they're going to beat the Commanders, but they're not the same team all the time on grass, outdoors. So will they score 35, 40 points like we've become accustomed to doing? We'll see. Maybe, because the Commanders are just that bad right now. Lattimore's out for the year. I mean, everybody the Commanders relied on this year is basically hurt. So, the Lions are 7.5-point favorites. They'll probably win by 15 or 20. I could see it. The night game, 8:20, Sunday night. You got your Steelers at Chargers. The Steelers are amazing. I mean, I think they're going to win this game and get to 6-3, even though I don't like them one bit. And it's basically because the Chargers, to me, even on their 2-game win streak, sometimes you see things that happen and you say, I don't like that. And they lost Joe Alt, their left tackle. They had already lost Rashawn Slater, their other left tackle, in the preseason. So they're down two of their offense. They're 2 offensive tackles who are both first-round picks and very good. And we know that they don't have Omarion Hampton left. And what this team wants to do is run and play defense. And they want to. They're more willing now to open up the pass offense. Justin Herbert's been great. Lad McConkey's been good. They've got this rookie tight end, Oronde Gadsden. He's catching 5 to 10 passes a week. He's added to their passing game. Of course, Quentin Johnston's having his best year. They've had to throw the ball quite a bit, and that's how they beat the Vikings, and that's how they beat the Titans. All right, but they only beat the Titans 27-20, and we know it's not a good Titans team. And I just think the loss of those 2 offensive linemen and not having a run game with Omarion Hampton, I think this is going to hurt them in the long run. And it wouldn't surprise me if it hurt them this Sunday night against the Steelers. And that was kind of the start of what you might see I don't want to call it a complete downfall of the Chargers, but I think offensively, I worry about them when they lose their identity. Their identity is run the ball, work off play action, and not drop back 40 times with Justin Herbert. But they may have to drop back 40 times with Justin Herbert. And although he's had a good year, I just think that is not their recipe for success. The Chargers are 2.5-point favorites. If there's an upset of the week that I'm going to pick, then it would be the Steelers to go in there and win that game. Steelers are probably feeling pretty good about beating the Colts. And I just think that some injuries become debilitating. And even if the Chargers win, by the way, next week, I'm going to tell you that I still am worried about this team, that team losing their identity and what it's going to mean for them going forward. All right. Obviously the Monday night game is Eagles Packers. As I mentioned, we'll have that all covered on the Inside the Birds pregame show with myself, Greg Cosell, Adam Kaplan, and we'll go through everything the way it needs to. All right. It is already time to get to the picks. Okay. I am going to start off my picks with a correction because it involves one of the games I just previewed. I believe I said that the Panthers were on the road and would be in New Orleans, but they're actually at home. Doesn't really change how I feel, and I'll get to that in a second. But I think I said that, on a fast track in a dome, Rico Dowdle could go have a great game, but that game is in Carolina. So I just wanted to make that correction. So Carolina is 5.5-point home favorites. That is not a road favorite situation. Last week, I did not have a good week. I went 1-2. I broke my streak. I had about 2 or 3 weeks going where I was 2-1. Still got to get to 3-0. Haven't done that yet. But yeah, last week I went 1-2. I won on I took the Broncos getting the points in Houston. I thought that was easy. And of course, the Broncos won the game outright, and they were getting 2.5. I lost on the Patriots, 4.5-point favorites over the Falcons. That was a closer game. And I lost on the Colts, 3.5-point favorites over the Steelers. Lost as obviously the Steelers won that game. All right. So this week, here's what I like. I like the Lions, even with the 7.5 against Commanders. Commanders are just so beat up. I think the Lions are going to be pretty annoyed about losing that game against the Vikings and probably unleash some havoc on a very banged up Commanders team. I can see them winning by multiple touchdowns. I will take the Panthers 5.5 at home against the Saints. I think that they're playing well and that they, coming off that win against Green Bay, could they revert a little bit and be the Panthers that we all see? Maybe, but I just don't think the Saints are going to have enough. So I think the Panthers recognize they have an opportunity here to really improve, get 2 games over 500 and make some noise in the NFC South. And they've got their rushing offense figured out. And I'm going to take the Bears at home, 4.5-point favorites over the Giants. The Giants have a lot of injuries, and they don't stop the run well, and the Bears run well. I mean, it's very dangerous and risky to take the Bears ever because they're just so up and down. But I just like I like their ability to move the ball at home against the Giants. 4.5. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bears didn't cover and won and didn't cover, and I take an L on it. But I figure that they can probably beat the Giants by 7-10. And those are my picks for the week. Hope you guys do as well, if not better than I do. And as I always say, enjoy your football watching.